அருணாச்சல சிவா அருணாச்சல சிவா அருணாச்சல சிவா அருணாச்சலா ஓம்கார பொருள் ஒப்பீருள்ளொய் உணையார் அறிவார் அருணாச்சலா ஓம் நமோ பகவதே ஸ்ரீ ரமணாயா. Good evening. After a long time I am putting a video in English. So this is about Nisarghadatta Maharaj final talks that was compiled by Jean Dunn. So why suddenly I started contemplating on that particular final talks subject is that main trigger is sometime before I had put a video on Nisarghadatta Maharaj biography in Tamil, and a viewer asked about Nisarghadatta Maharaj teachings. Then I subsequently put a Tamil video which almost represented the final talks of Nisarghadatta Maharaj, which was compiled by Jean Dunn. So now in this English talk, what I am going to tell, what I am going to rather wonder about, contemplate myself and wonder about myself is, Nisarghadatta Maharaj, if you keenly observe, in his last days, he talked about two states, parabrahman and brahman, and he talked about what is the state 8 days before your birth. Before the 8 days, what were you? Where were you? How were you? So these type of questions he used to ask. Finally, the point at which he arrived was, there is a particular instant after the birth, maybe 1 year or 2 years, at particular point, you suddenly became aware that you are. Earlier, you were not aware of that knowledge. You were not aware that you existed. That was the parabrahman state. That's what he used to label it. So that is 8 days before birth, 250 years before birth, 1000 years before birth. Almost altogether, it's a state, unmanifest state, where you never knew that you existed. But suddenly you became conscious of yourself. That is the point where the Mula Maya had happened, and the existence, the sense of existence is pushed towards you. Suddenly the consciousness had arrived unannounced, and that is what has grown into a man now. So that is what the main theme around the books prior to consciousness and the absolute, seeds of consciousness, and then of course ultimate medicine also. So now, if we carefully observe whatever Jean Dunn had compiled, you will also accept that now if I am talking in the manifest state, and whatever parabrahman or unmanifest state, or that 8 days before birth, that particular state, whatever I can talk about, I can really cannot do any justice about it, because even though I am calling it unmanifest, I am talking it in the manifested world. I cannot go back into that unmanifest and talk about it, because there is no one to talk about it, because I don't even know that I exist. The existence itself is not felt. It's Nirguna Brahman, you can call liberally. So now, even now when I'm talking, I am completely in the hold of the consciousness. I am completely in the hold of the Mula Maya. So whatever I am talking about, that unmanifest state prior to birth, that 8 days before birth, that conception, what happened during that time, whatever I am talking, that cannot do any justice, because I am still in the realm of consciousness. I have not transcended it. As such, whatever words I bring into, it's still in the Brahman state, it's still in the manifest state, even though I say unmanifest, because that particular state I cannot contemplate, because there is no knower and known there. Everything completely disappeared, dissolved. It's a Nirguna Brahman, where the Parabrahman state, Paramatma, whatever you call, where you don't even know you exist. So that is prior to creation itself. So my inference is, what all we can do is, now that sense of existence or the sense of I amness that has been pushed into us, all we can do is contemplate and abide in the time and wait in the seashore and let Parashakti or Mahamaya carry away as to the unmanifest or Nirguna Brahman state. And that is not in our control. All we can do is abide in the consciousness, forgetting about the individual personality or the individual ego. That's all I can do maximum. And apart from that, it's all going to be grace. It's all going to be the impersonal grace, not owned by any. It's all about the cosmic consciousness that's going to do the job of no creation. Because until now, even if I say no creation or even if I say unmanifest, still I am talking it in the manifest state. So that is what my inference was, and that's what I am wondering. Jean Dunn had done a beautiful job, because in I Am That book, Maharaj talked about witness and lot of other things, but towards his last final days, these type of teachings, these type of words, that principle that is observing the creation, he's talking about that. So it's driving straight away the point what that Advaitic teachers meant by Ajata in the Mandukya Upanishad and Gaudapatakarika and other things. I suddenly started, I read about Jean Dunn 10 years before. I read about, in fact, I downloaded the Seeds of Consciousness. I had read that book, that's compiled talks. But now, when I read the same thing, when I read the same quotes, I'm coming to the conclusion that whatever I'm reading is still in the manifest state. Whatever label I'm giving in parabrahman, that is still you are hearing it in the manifest state. We are now in the Ishvara principle. That Ishvara principle is talking, and all we can do is either abide in I am or worship that Ishvara principle and let it finish the job for us. Until that unmanifest state cannot be talked about. How many words we spend, how many essays we write, we cannot talk about it. That's why the Vedas are silent when it comes to finally pointing out the ultimate truth. Because the ultimate truth is something where there is absolutely no trace of ownership, and it's not even the fourth state of Turiya, even beyond Turiya. Even Siddharameshwara Maharaj is touching this topic when he says about the four bodies, where the fourth body is the Mahakarana Sharira or the Turiya state he is telling, and then there is something called Turyadita. Even Papaji is telling it, referring to it in the Nothing Ever Happened. But it's all still in the creation. That's the point I am trying to drive at. Contemplate and enjoy the devotion and enjoy the knowledge equally. Whenever I read any passage about Maharaj, any quote about Maharaj, I get both sense of knowledge and sense of devotion equally. It pervades everywhere like a perfume. Enjoy and have a good day. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.